So, welcome to another episode of What's That All About? I was going to do this one outside, and then all of a sudden, a cataclysmic windstorm kicked up, which happens when you live in a valley, apparently. So, anyway, I'm just going to do it from here, I guess. Now, I'm going to tell this episode in kind of story format because I want to see if you can guess who I'm talking about during the time I tell you about this story. Somebody in the news that irks me to no end, but I don't want to say the name outright. But this is going to be a story about a little boy who wants to go to Mars. I bet you already have a guess. His name, for story purposes, is Egon Dusk. All right. First of all, biggest thing I can recommend right now is that if you are an entrepreneur and you're very young, or you have, kids and they're going to be little entrepreneurs, I would say in the next decades to come, fashion spacesuits are going to be all the rage. And I say that for several reasons, but I will start with telling you that Mars is actually between Earth and Jupiter, and it's the fourth planet from the Sun. And it's red because the surface contains iron. Okay, now have you ever left a bike outside when you were a kid or something, and the frame, after rain, like if it rained or something, and you look at it the next day and it's got like a rust on it? It's because it was iodized. Okay, and that's what happens to oxidized, not iodized. Iodized is the actual red stuff they use, I think, during surgeries. But anyway, oxidized, and it turns that rusty red, orangey color. Anyway, in a year on Mars is 687 days. Now, Earth days, because their day, one whole day is 24 hours and 37 minutes. So I guess that tags on a little bit of, that's how long it takes for it to rotate around the sun. I don't know if little Egon Dusk knows about all this stuff. I'm sure he does. And again, I come back to the spacesuit. You're going to need a spacesuit, okay? The atmosphere up there is so freaking thin, okay? It's made up mostly of carbon dioxide, argon, nitrogen, and a small, and I mean real small, amount of oxygen and water vapor. Now, it has almost no oxygen. It's made up of only 1/10 of 1% of air, so not nearly as much as you would need to stay kicking around as a human without a cool fashion Mars suit, space suit, whatever you want to call it. It does have some similarities to Earth, though, which may be the allure. It has 4 seasons. Okay, first of all, I'm in Idaho. We just are coming out of, for the first couple weeks of a 7-month-long winter. Think about that wherever you are. We have had 7 months of snow, colder, snow. Did I mention snow? And just the most horrifying conditions. I mean, I have a neighbor, she's funny. She said, I didn't realize that we moved to Antarctica when we moved to Idaho, because they came from California. And this winter, anyway, so there's 4 seasons on Mars. I'm thinking, if I could get up there, if there's any way to get there earlier, get a good spot. I'm sure there's a lot of good real estate up there. But anyway, it's got some similarities, like I said. It has polar ice caps. It's got volcanoes, canyons. It even has its different weather. So, but Mars is about half the size of Earth. And, God, we've really crowded up Earth. So, I don't know. But it's the second smallest planet in our solar system after Mercury. Little bitty Mercury. Oh. And you'll need a really, really warm sweater, though, for Most of the time, I should say, those 4 seasons. But even at the equator, okay, so it at Mars's equator, okay, temperatures can reach 20 degrees Celsius, which is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That's what I'm experiencing now here where I am in Idaho. But at the poles, the temperature can dip to a negative 140 degrees Celsius. That's negative 220 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh my God. It has the highest mountain in our solar system. Yeah, I had no idea. It's called Olympus Mons. I don't know who named it, but it's 3 times higher than Mount Everest, which is our tallest Earth mountain, so to speak. But Mars is also named after a Roman god, actually the Roman god of war. And the reason for that is because the surface of the moon resembles blood. Isn't that nice? What a nice reason to name a planet. It's gross. But at the moment, we are using robots to explore up there. So I'm telling you, put your request in for some good real estate. You never know what you might get if you wait around for it. But anyway, so how far off do you think the possibility is of life on Mars? Like, I mean, human life, like colonization and stuff. Well, there's a man named Serkan Sadam, Deputy Director of the Australian Centre for Space Engineering Research, and he also is a professor at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. And he has said human colonization on Mars is possible within decades. Not millions of years, but decades. He said, I believe by 2050, we will have a human colony on Mars. I wonder what that's going to look like. I'm just curious. He also said, Sadam is also a mining engineer and specializes in researching future mining. So he's looking ahead. And he said that the first major step in establishing a successful Mars colony is going to be water. I kind of feel like that's a duh, because obviously we're going to need water. Listen to me, like I'm going to be around for it. I turned 48 on Friday, everybody. Oh my God, 48. I'm getting old, people. But anyway, you need to have the water, and that facilitates agriculture, hence grows food. Now, did you ever see the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, where he does a lot of his agriculture using his, how do I delicately say this? His shit. Yeah, so he plants potatoes with his shit. It works. It keeps him alive. Okay. Now, while hydrogen from the ice and minerals could also be used as an energy source for rocket propulsion. So it's not even just, I'd like to think that this is a real possibility for the future of our planet, for the people who are going to be alive to see it, but I don't know. To be fair, there isn't a scientific consensus as far as colonization on Mars goes, especially by 2050. They seem to think that's a little aggressive. Other scientists have come to the table with, far less optimistic opinions. But for instance, this guy named Louis Friedman, an astronautics engineer and co-founder of the nonprofit organization called the Planetary Society, he suggested in 2019 that Mars colonization was unlikely for the foreseeable future. Bummer. In general terms, though, it is agreed that humanity will get there. They'll reach Mars within decades, but as far as a colonization goes and, all that kind of stuff, like I said, it's a bit aggressive, I think. China plans to start sending humans, to send humans cruise to Mars by 2033. That really, I'm doing the math, and I can do math pretty easily when it's only 10 years. So yeah, that's 10 years. And anyway, Of course, we're lagging behind with NASA that aims to send astronauts there by the late 2030s or early 2040s. And once they get there, the next step would be to build a colony. I'm showing you a bunch of pictures now, probably of the colony, like what they project they could look like. They look kind of cool. Not a lot of freedom of space, obviously, for obvious reasons. And if you're going outside, you got to wear your fashion suit. That's what I would just call it. I mean, this got to be a cool name you come up with. Space fashion. I don't know. You guys are smarter than me. You'll think of it. But colonization implies some degree of like self-sufficiency. And it's just not necessarily going to be that way at first. Sadam, he compares a Mars colony with a remote island, like say like Gilligan's Island, right? Use that as an example. You need to import things occasionally, like you know how on Gilligan's Island, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it. I know that I'm probably, way older than some of the people watching, but you get seven people on an island, but you've also got other shipwrecks that are going down. So other supplies are coming ashore. So they're constantly kind of inundated with new things that they can use to continue to try and get off the island. Well, kind of the same idea. Earth would need to keep sending things because, as he says, he doesn't think you can manufacture a truck on Mars. Wouldn't that be cool if you could, though? I mean, seriously. Anyway, maybe we'll get there sooner rather than later if we can get our acts together and a certain not to be named extraterrestrial assistance were to be granted to us. Perhaps we could all figure out a way to send us up there sooner. Because I don't think Earth is in it for the long haul anymore. I think that we've extinguished a lot of its. Let's put it this way. I'm going to be 48. I feel like I'm really, really starting to feel my age. I bet you Earth feels the same way. It's really probably starting to feel its age. That's just a possibility, I'm just saying. But anyway, I just wanted to tell that little story about Mars just to see if Egon Dusk, knows all that stuff. I'm sure he does because he's a pretty smart guy. I hear he can rub two nickels together too, and it's more or less. But I hope you are all staying happy and healthy and stay weird. And until next time, take care. Bye.